Okay, I want to do a quick video on how to get the Datacap EDS plugin and how to install it into WebSphere and maybe configure it a little. So first you have to go get it, and I'm going to go find it here. So the first thing is you go to the Knowledge Center for Datacap. You can find all kinds of information on the actual plugin and how it works, and actually where to get it is you go to the sample sources are here, this EDS Navigator plugin. You can also search for, I think a better location is a good instruction, a tech note on how to configure the EDS sample for Navigator, SWG. I'll zoom in on this. SWG 270466058 is the number. And it just tells you how to go about getting this. So you just go to the sample EDS project page. It brings up a page here. I click on edit code. This is what I screwed up the first time, is I kept trying to right click on something because it didn't work with edit code, but it didn't work on another page. So once you get to edit code, you can have this option to right click on here. You say open related here, and I want to open the Jazz SCM project. And here it is, and I'm going to create a, well, I've already created a sample workspace. I'll create a sample workspace of this, give it a name, so I can click on this pencil icon now that I've loaded it, and it'll come over to the stream itself, and then you right click on the folder itself here and say export to a zip file. Now an EAR file is this, and a jar file are both just zip files. So I'm going to save this file into my folder here. I'll put it under temp, save it right there, and now I can go and rename this file to actually an EAR file. So there it is. I'm going to just rename it without all the other file name that it gave it, and just call it Datacap EDS sample.ear. Now we can use that file to load into our system. I'm going to copy that file over to my VMware image. My VMware image has Datacap installed on it. It also has Content Navigator already installed on it, and I'm going to save this file into a temp directory there. And here it is. I've saved it and it's ready to go. So the next step is to load the WebSphere admin pages, the administrative console. You can usually get that at WebSphere. You dig down into the profiles, you find which app server it is, you choose the administrative console here. Once I've got the administrative console, I can say new application. It's going to start asking me questions about, how do I want to load this. New enterprise application. Go and find the file that we just loaded. It was ETEMP. There it is. I've loaded it, and now I just say next and start answering the questions. Pretty much I think everything is the default. It's going to take the port of the default application server. I could do fast path and only have it ask questions of when it needs to have something answered. That's fine. It's all the general data here. Again, you can review all this. The application name is going to be Datacap EDS Service. We're going to use that for later. And I can just say next. Don't have to change anything. I don't think you have to click on these, but I tend to, just to choose which one I'm installing, just to be sure. Default host, if you have other kinds of hosts, is there. And we can go look at where that port number is and things like that as well in the actual servers. Here's the sample EDS service. That's the class we want to load. And there is all the overview. Are you sure you want to do it? And you say finish, and it goes through and spends some time unpacking this, and it spins for a while, and then you click save. Okay, it spits out a lot of information. Says, do you want to save? I say yes. Save it to the master configuration. Okay, so it looks like it's deployed, but it hasn't actually started yet, so I can actually go and look at my WebSphere enterprise applications. You'll see it in the long list of applications that are running, including FileNet P8 and Content Navigator. There's FileNet P8 right there. Here's the one we just installed. I choose it, and I'm going to say start. Now, the files that this default service uses are a couple of JSON files. They're all static, but you can look at the code. The code comes with it in that zip file, but the code just goes and loads two files. And there's really only two methods that you have to return. One is to get the types of information that are served by the EDS and the actual data corresponding to that EDS sample. And you could dig into this by going into the IBM folder or wherever you've installed WebSphere, App Server, Profiles, the App Server number, the installed applications here, and here is that EC or Datacap EDS service here, and dig into the EAR file, and in this web, the classes folder, there are these two files, object.json, and you can edit these, and that's what the service returns. Now, if all you're going to do is static data, then you're done. All you have to do is edit those. If you want this service to do something like go and call a database and get some data and then return it to the proper, return it for each field differently, you just go through and change the code so it does what you want and return the data. It doesn't matter what application service, as long as you serve these verbs and these methods, then you can have any kind of application server returning this data. But on the object types, let's show you what it looks like. It's just some JSON that it gets returned, and in this case it's travel docs. So that's the application that's going to be served. I'll close that. And if we want to test it, we can go to our admin server, or whatever navigator is showing, and we can change our URL slightly. Since we know it's on port 9080, that's how I know it's on the same service, the same application server as that, and I can say I put in the host name 9080 Datacap EDS Service, the types, a question mark, repository ID, and travel docs. That's exactly what Content Navigator is going to call on this. And when I serve that, it does a get, gets that data, and it's going to return that JSON to me, making sure that it actually does run. And there it is. It's got the JSON, so I know my service is actually up and running. Now, going back to that admin service, this is where we tie in the actual EDS service with our data, with our application. So it logged in. It was logged in already. Comes right to this. You would log in as your administrator, and I'm going to choose my plugins and see that one of these is this external data service support, and I'm going to give it a mapping to my EDS service, the same one we just verified that it has connectivity to the actual the JSON that it's going to return. And if you scroll down, you'll see that it has a URL here, external data service URL. This one's got a sample EDS service here, but I'm going to change it to be the URL that we put in there and just have it be Datacap EDS service. Now I've got the settings right for this. Now I can say save and close, and now what will happen is when I run my application in Datacap, anytime there is a field being displayed, an application being rendered, the Datacap ICN client will go and look at that EDS service and say, hey, do you have any data on this actual application, which it's going to go get all the types, say, oh, I'm running travel docs, yeah, you do. Let me, as I start rendering the fields, let's go get all the data associated with that specific object, and then display things like a pull down. If you go and you look at that actual file, that JSON travel docs property file, and these are all explained in the documentation about what they do, you can see it. So there's a symbolic name called outbound form. I'm going to have an initial value called New York, and the display name is going to called outbound form. Display name is New York, and then there's going to be this choice list, and that's really all you have to do to get this this up and running. We'll try the next step is to actually configure that with an actual application.